Works. Yeah, all right, we're working now. All right. Hello, my name is Zach Morris. I'm a Bentonville native, born and raised, graduated in 2000. And I'm really excited to be here. It's been a progress in the making. I was able to do the AI series, if you happen to be there, for series 1, 2, and 3, playing various roles because I lead various lives. Career, I'm a cybersecurity professional, but I'm actually kind of more of an artist, more than anything. It's one of those things that sometimes in life takes you a little while to come around to, especially from a creative side of just like, am I a person who can just draw, or am I an artist? And I used to think just because I draw neat things that I was just kind of a person who could draw. But over time, that's something I connected with a lot more and became a little more meaningful. So I draw a lot. I've got about 500 pieces over about 30 years, and that's probably an underestimate, I would say. And it's been really interesting lately because some of this new tool set that's arrived has interestingly reinvigorated some of my old art. I'm able to go back and use fragments of art I drew a decade ago and apply it to new uses now. I was able to make kind of a graphic art cover with a 11-year-old piece of art. And we're going to talk about it a little bit more, but the notion is that a lot of our ideas aren't so wasted, actually. You can use them for little fragments of thought. Can be used for something special. So this is Stephanie Blevins. She's a local artist. Actually, she's right there in the blue coat. Hello, Stephanie. Wonderful local artist. She does some great work, and we happen to have an initiative on this last Creative Summit to work together and kind of prompt a bit of a question. So we have my art and we have her art. Here's her original kind of style. We had this great initiative, it's kind of a health community initiative, and it was like, well, what if we can break this out of a 2D flyer that's going to sit in a lobby and see what we can do for this type of initiative to bring in more art and maybe a little more interactive and modernize it, but also let's leverage some of the new tools. So this is her art that she did from this. It's a wonderful series. These are tall panels, about three by 2. And the notion would be like, well, we might have this ad campaign, but we want to make sure original art is still a part of it because it's important. So I threw it into Photoshop for generative AI, was able to take some seasonal type drawings that I had done and then continue to modify them to iterate through. And then Runway, if you happen to see any, this movie trailer was made in 4 minutes. It's probably Runway. That's the tool that they're using that for. So this was kind of the blend. If you want to, there's Zak Vicente. And so you can see we kind of actually overlaid. That's my art style in the background. And what I did was make a series through Photoshop generative AI to just toggle through various seasons. And this is sort of to represent the seasons of a mother's journey. And overlaid her original art on top of mine. And we were able to sort of transition the story. You know, this would be some music and some text. And the notion was, this is the rough draft. I made this in about 3 hours. And how interesting would it be if this was the ad kind of pitch that we put together that afternoon or within a week after us both doing some art, as opposed to some sketches and some stills on a PowerPoint slide. This is some of the storytelling that we're capable of now. And what an interesting place to be where this is where we can bring in original artists to use modern tooling and come up with a new approach to what can be possible for campaigns, but also how fast it can be done. And then I think we have to ask ourselves, is this still original? We're at this inflection point where we have this integration of creativity and tool sets. And just as when we went from, oh, there's Photoshop and digital art, and well, that's going to take away all the original artists. No one's going to use them anymore. We found that to not be true over time, right? But it's kind of that moment where we're having to really question, what do we see here? And how do we value it? Are we going to call it original still? It's good questions, right? So it's just something to think through. Vicente. Bring to stage my partner, Vicente, who is appropriately garbed today. Bravo, sir.
Good morning, Tech Summit! Come on, make it sound like we have 2,000 people here. Make it sound, make it loud.
He's more awake than me. You're doing it. You're doing great. Oh, good job.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Vicente Yañez. I am a systems engineer. I'm a software developer. I'm an artist, an artisan, beloved father, son, and brother. And just like Zak, I wear several hats. I'm a tabletop game designer, and I want to talk to you guys about a project that we started a couple of years ago. Everyone was in pandemic, we were stuck at home, and my oldest granddaughter, yeah, you heard right, granddaughter, she loves to play card games. She loves Uno. She is a terrific and competitive player. I do not like to sit by her because she's good. So I started toying with the idea, what if we make a card game for her? What if I grab all of those things that she likes about the game and then make a new one, something different, something that doesn't exist? I spent a lot of time learning about other card games, reading a lot about Magic the Gathering. It's a fantastic game. A little bit too nuanced for her age. And I decided to put all of that design into practice. So we came up with this idea. After a couple of years, we're in production now. That's how the game actually looks like today. But I want to talk about the art. I knew from the moment I decided to make a card game that I wanted something that did not have characters. But I also wanted something that had a story. So how do you tell a story without characters? So we latch on this concept about the evolutionary part of a planet before life could exist. From the moment the planet is being cooled down to all of the cataclysmic events that happen and how it's affected by cosmic events. So the idea was that you're going to be collecting these cards, and these cards had to have these visuals to them. It was about the scene that you were looking. So I did a lot of 3D rendering, creating scenes in your standard Blender, coming up with these landscapes, coming up with effects, coming up with lighting. I learned a lot about progressive rendering and a lot of the engines that exist out there for 3D stuff from my computer. So we did several scenes. We have 25 total scenes in the game, all of them manually done. When it came, we're going to see them. There we go. These are some of the cards of the game, the actual cards on the game, and you can see how these scenes laid out and they build this wide landscape. It's not a requirement in the game that you have to collect all of these cards. It's just part of the feeling, the flavor of the game. And we have all of the different elements, creating 25 scenes, grabbing inspiration from a lot of different places, a lot of fantasy setting, a lot of just creative stuff. And then it comes the action cards, the one that allow you to mess up with other players, the one that my granddaughter loves. And for those, the goal or the main piece was not the image. For those, the goal was the action itself. So for that one, at the time, DALL-E 2 was just starting to make its waves. And I said, well, let's try it out. So then I sat down with DALL-E and I started prompting it and say, I want a scene that looks like this. I had some ideas in my mind about what it should be. I spent all of my allowed credits for a month. I had to wait for another month to get my credits again, to then try again, and that went over several months until I was happy with all of the images that I got. At this point, I have a mixture of traditionally made digital art and AI-generated digital art. And I want to make emphasis on digital art because these images are digital. They're digitally made. They have nothing to do with the wonderful work that we saw from Stephanie, which is hand-drawn, hand-painted, which creates some interesting points of conversation here. The first one is that we probably need to rethink the concept of artificial intelligence a little bit. We know that it's done for marketing purposes, it's easy to adopt, and we all like it because it's a buzzword. But to me, artificial intelligence is not such thing. To me, it's just the large-scale augmentation of our human intelligence. It's a tool set that allows me to do a lot more with a lot less, a lot faster. With that one, the biggest question that we need to ask ourselves here is, what is creativity? And you guys think, we've been looking at art, and normally we think about creative endeavors as images, as illustrations, and this kind of stuff. But creativity is a lot more than that. All of you guys here had to be creative on how you set your schedule so you could not affect your work, your life, anything else, right? Whenever you're going to go back to work, you're going to check your emails, and then you're going to have to be responding to them. The way you craft an answer to those emails is also creative. Whether it's one single passive-aggressive line, as we discussed before, or if it's a really long email when you have to be very, very explicit about what you're explaining, that's creativity. When you get pulled into a conference room because everyone knows that something is wrong, but no one knows how to fix it, and you are the one connecting the dots in your head, that's creativity. And that's the kind of stuff that we want to talk today, through the lens of art and how this can work, but we have some interesting points.
Right, so ChatGPT is, I'm going to take this thing from him. ChatGPT is like obviously the primary tool that is sort of the first to market, but of course there's plenty out there. And when I say plenty, I mean like many more. It is kind of a kaleidoscopic Cambrian explosion of AI models and tools.
And they do all kinds of things.
And you have your generalist tools, like the Titan tools are all consolidated into a big suite. But there's a lot of like microservice tools or something that's really, really specific. And a lot of the flow tends to be you start in more of a generalized tool, and then you go into something more focused. Oops, well, there that goes. The notion was there's paid tools and there's free tools. And there are going to be some really significant feature differences. And you could put together kind of a, here's my free stack, but there's a reason people use Adobe, and those, you have a kind of all-encompassing suite. What you're able to do through some of these things might cost a bit more, and it's just something to be aware of, but there's a whole lot of free out there too. And we got to start talking about like, what is the nature of a prompt? So real quick, because we got 10. This is actually a prompt from just Vicente's niece?
No, my granddaughter.
Your
my
granddaughter,
oldest granddaughter.
Right? Pretty simple. 9 years old?
Yeah.
Yeah, 9 years old. So we're like, hey, let's just kind of take this and see what this looks like, the image of a child and how these different tools interpret this. And what we want you to kind of pay attention to here is this is DALL-E, right? And it's playful. The words and essence that it got out of that prompt was the playfulness. It saw a party, it seemed to see some youth.
The style also. The style reminds me a little bit of a children's book, even though there was nothing explicit in the prompt about the age of my granddaughter or anything. Just by the words, the sentences that were part of that context,
right.
It decided that it was going to be a children's focused set of images.
And this is the exact same prompt in Stable Diffusion. That's another free one. But if you look at the ambiance it chose, it looked at atmosphere. It picked up different words. And so something to be aware of is that even when you're using ChatGPT or Bard or Bing, when you're typing in, looking up different research options, they are interpreting the essence of what your question is differently. And you might not necessarily get the same results. This is kind of artistic way to show that. But if we look down here at Midjourney, exact same prompt, it focused, look at the rendering difference, and it focused on the grouping of the frogs, the subjects, the description of the subjects and what they're doing, so the action in the scene, more so than the setting itself. And that's just kind of an ambiance, nuance awareness that, like, these tools are a lot like linguistics. They're language models, right? Well, when you go to Texas, they might say soda, and if you go to Minnesota, they say pop. The words might get interpreted a little differently, and it's just something to be aware of. So, breaking down notions of the prompt, I'm continuing to say the notion that conversation is code. Your words are programming. And it comes down to like parts of speech that we learned whenever we were younger.
Zach, if I ask you, can you please fetch my wallet from my car?
Where's your car?
It's somewhere over there by other cars.
Well, that's a little better, but like, what kind of car?
That's the thing about prompting. That's the key tool about using this new tool set. You need to be very intentional on what you describe. You need to provide really good amount of context. You need to be mindful of the length of your prompt so you don't end up ranting and going on and on and on and on, trying to explain what you think in a circular manner, exactly as I'm doing right now. You need to be concise. You need to, eventually you get that instinctive conversational tone with the tool because you're gonna start seeing the results. And the more intentional you are with the details that you put in, Zach, my car is parked by a light bulb beside a big F-150 white. My wallet is inside of the glove box. Here is the key. I am parked 3 blocks down the road.
That's much better.
So there is a lot of information. Now, the task is going to be more easier for you to execute.
Yes. Yeah, it's increasing the mathematical odds that I'm going to locate his car and be able to get his keys because of the specificity. So, funny enough, what you get out of these, with magic is desire made real, be really honest about what you want and use the words to explicitly state that, to include, it's not a blue car, it's a red car. I don't want you to go get this kind of report from Wikipedia, I want you to go get this report from Reddit. That kind of specificity will really change what kind of outcomes you get. So I want to just kind of show you a bit of like how I draw. I kind of always see patterns all the time. It kind of doesn't turn off, and I don't sleep much. But it leads to some interesting results. So this was just sitting on a park bench. This is a shadow on my pad. I just kind of noticed it, saw a head kind of leaning in, and started to sketch. And then I took a picture on my phone, and I kind of added some color to tone it down. And then I added a little starburst in the background. And then I threw it over into Mid-Journey to kind of ramp it up for like Alien Cinematic, gonna come to you next year in a world. And then I animated it. This was all from my phone. It was done in under an hour. This is my rough draft now. If I'm a concept artist going to a producer to say, I have an idea for an alien, it's not just a sketch on my notepad, it's a fully realized notion of this is what it could look like. And they're like, yes. And I did it. I could have done it on my lunch break. So can you. It's that accessible. And so, my pet peeve around artistry is typically a comment of, well, I can only draw a stick figure. And I just simply say, well, you just haven't had practice as much, and actually there's stick figures that make a whole lot of money. Look at XKCD comic, come on, it's one of our favorites. So, what we're gonna do is actually show you. This is a clip of me drawing a stick figure. And within one prompt, this is on my phone, within one prompt, I pop it over to Mid-Journey, I reference the photo, and then I make it into a giant alien thing.
But come on, you know your tools. You're cheating. I am a concerned member of this audience, and I challenge you to do it right here in front of these people.
So who wants to do a totally pre-planned, but we're going to pretend it's an impromptu live demo? All right. So what we're going to do, I am going to mosey. He's going to be Vicente. You're going to be a lovely assistant. Thank you, sir. And we're going to put you on the spot.
We're going to need help from you guys
Right
to
here.
come up with something
He's
totally
excited.
that doesn't exist before.
Okay, so we're going to pick a character, get a description of that character, and then get a scene, and then we're going to make it happen. So any character in the world, it could be vague, it could be specific.
Just no IP.
Yeah, no IP, but like, Yeah. You could say jetpack. Cool, so jetpack guy.
I
Perfect.
wonder where that reference comes from.
I have no idea, that's so random. Who doesn't want me to talk to you? Hi. Hello. Give me a description of a jetpack guy. Just any, like just in your mind. Let your imagination run. It's not necessarily what you just saw. No, we can't use IP, so flying through, is he military, is he sci-fi? Tall. Flying over the Appalachian Mountains, like military, what kind of look has he got? Yes, that's perfect.
What was it?
Ninja, jetpack ninja,
Love it.
flying over the Appalachian Mountains. Do I have you? Hi. What kind of is this illustrated? Is it realistic? Is it a movie scene? drawn. What kind of look do we have going on?
It's a realistic scene where he's flying through a flock of chickens.
Over the Appalachian Mountains. Jetpack Ninja flying over the Appalachian Mountains, realistic scene, but also flying through a flock of flying chickens. Yeah, absolutely. Let's do it. Okay. Let's see. Now we have a lucky contestant who's going to draw this. Hi, do you want to come do a thing?
That's perfect.
It's literally, you're going to use your finger, and we're going to show you how far you can go. We're going to bring out the inner creative in this young man. And we're going to do it in under 3 minutes. All right, so we have Jetpack Ninja. It is someone flying through the sky. Nope, just use your finger. There we go. Ninja flying through the sky. Perfect. Ninja. You've got a little body going. Yes. This is fantastic. Jetpack Ninja. Yes. Okay, and there were some chickens, I believe, so we can get some little circles over here.
Just something that resembles.
Yep, just anything, just little indications. Oh, you can be even smaller, like just a little flock of them. There you go, little circles.
Maybe some peaks underneath to put the Appalachian. Appalachian? How's it pronounced?
Some pics?
Little rolling hills back there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just so it gets, there you go. Yeah.
Any happy trees?
Any happy trees?
Happy tree?
Okay,
No, that's okay.
so let's see. Maybe, so we get the chickens. I bet you if you do little circles right up in here, you get a little reference. Yeah, a little circle, just like that. Perfect. This is great.
Give a round of
Okay,
applause to
all
our
right,
brave
what's your name?
drawer, brave
What's your name?
artist.
All right, Chuck. Everyone give a round of applause for Chuck. Thank you, sir. Appreciate you. So what we're going to do now is, if you can,
This one?
oh, hey, there's another mic right there. That's fantastic. Okay.
Now we got two.
So, real quick, all I do is do Windows Shift S and a screen clip, so it's nice and fast. Goes into capture mode. We're going to grab this real quick. I come over here into mid-journey. I have my prompt. Oh, let's see. We actually have to do. First thing you have to do is load it up. So, what you're doing when you're applying this into so mid-journey goes through Discord or other channels, but what we have to do is kind of give it a reference. This is very similar to giving an artist a reference of what you want them to draw, right? So the system actually works very similar. And if I just copy the link here, and we come in here, and we'll say imagine. So the first thing you do is you point to it, just like you would show me the apple you want me to draw. The system works the same way. Give it a visual reference first. You do a comma, and then, where are we doing? Type?
Yep. Then we bring in the prompt of what we wanted to get.
And away we go. This is how quickly you can start interacting. So the notion of your rough ideas, ideas you've had on napkins, right? That's sort of the equivalent of this. It's a matter of like a very small fraction of an idea could actually render into a high resolution rough draft of anything you've thought of. And it really doesn't matter if it's a Word document or a business idea, design schematic. You can take it from napkin math, as we have probably crumpled up in our pockets or folded away in folders somewhere from college, and pull them back into the modern time and leverage a tool to render that into a higher resolution reality. Yes. Within a very short amount of time, because Chuck, I mean, you're making this if we're working on this together. So we got chickens. This is great. I love it. So when we go to, we'll upgrade number 4, because it's going to kind of like bring that out a little bit bigger, or going to focus on the resolution a bit more. And here we go. Like, Chuck, you made this. This would be, we did this in 4 minutes. You could, of course, throw it into some new tools or Photoshop. I would go into Runway and now render this into a movie from my phone, which you can do too right now with your stick figures and communicate a higher resolution idea from the beginning. And what does that mean for us? Where can we go with that type of power? So
We have a few topics that we need to talk about because just as we have really cool tech, we also have really good set of questions.
right, so I just, as a creative to many creatives, I think we actually have a time where we could all be a lot more creative about everything we're doing, and what would that mean for our lives, especially if we can render our thoughts into a high resolution rough draft and we're all elevating our rough drafts. How much more interesting is it? We can talk about it more because I can get there so much faster. And what if we're all creating more? We might protect it a little more because we're at that kind of inflection point right now. And from like an automation perspective, if automation is the focus, you know, you want to shorten the dots from A to B. Idea A, outcome B. That's the most efficient there can be. But I can tell you, as a lifelong artist and a fan of the beautiful unexpected, a lot of humanity lives between A and B. And when I say we need to protect it, we're going to have to decide how much room we're going to make for ourselves in this automated process.
A big point of this conversation was not to make you guys go and try specifically Midjourney or DALL-E or ChatGPT, just to show you what's possible out there and the invitation for you guys to go out and play with it. Because just as we talk about the paywalls and the pay tools, potentially all of them are going to be paid at some point, just as sweet products are paid and you have to license them.
Right.
But if you know what these tools are able, then you're going to be able to define better how you want to do it. Are we going to let the tool define what's
Right.
possible for us?
Right, and that's kind of what I meant on augmentation, right? This could have been, I made a bot out of a diagram of a machine learning. Now that ChatGPT can read images, copy paste it in just like I did on the screen clip. Say, hey, this is a machine learning diagram. I want to make a conversational bot. Give me a personality from this diagram, and it will do it. And then you can have a conversation with the machine learning expert in stream that takes no programming. Conversation's code right now. And part of it really is, it's not prompt engineering, it's just language composition. I turn on the mic and I talk, and then stuff comes out. And that's useful, and it happens really fast. And then I can communicate it really quickly in a meaningful way that's so much more interesting than just a spreadsheet or a basic PowerPoint deck or a Word doc that was just from scratch. The same amount of effort that went into that Word doc, you could have tossed into a quick tool and generated something a little more higher resolution, more meaning, more creativity, more time. And what that means for you could be fairly profound, because that's what it's meant for us, and that's why we're on stage today. So thank you, Vicente. Thank you, everyone.
Thank
Hope
you,
you
everyone.
appreciated hope you enjoyed it.
All
Thank
right.
you, Chuck. You are an artist, sir. Don't let anybody tell you different.
Let's give it up for Zak and Vicente.